Action movies never go out of fashion, and there's something to be said watching a good action flick from the comfort of your living room. Luckily, if you're a Peacock subscriber, you've got plenty to choose from. The critically acclaimed British film Polite Society isn't just one of the funniest movies of 2023, it also boasts some of the best action scenes put to film in recent years.
I am the Fury.
Rather than opting for death-defying stunts, Polite Society keeps things grounded, focusing on wannabe stunt performer Rhea Khan, played by Priya Kansara. Rhea makes her own martial arts films with the help of her sister, Lena, who's no longer available to help when she gets engaged. At first, Rhea just wants her sister back, but she soon realizes there's something sinister about the family Lena's marrying into. The fight scenes in Polite Society hit hard, no pun intended, because of the underlying emotions, and the use of practical effects make everything feel more real.
Miss Khan, would you say a career as a stunt woman is a serious one?
Affirmative.
It's usually Kansara in those gritty fight scenes. Speaking to the Golden Globes website, Kansara revealed that her stunt team encouraged her to do what she could, saying, "What you see in the movie, it's 90% the real me. I was like, step aside, Tom Cruise, we're doing this." Polite Society utilizes sensibilities from Bollywood, British comedies, and social satires to create something wholly unique. However, the main inspiration comes from British-Pakistani writer-director Nida Manzoor's love of action movies, and the fact that she wanted to see herself in them. Speaking to Entertainment Weekly, she explained, "We don't usually see Muslim women playing music and being funny, and we certainly don't see South Asian teenage girls leading action movies." 2021's Baby Assassins is an action comedy out of Japan. The movie begins with two teenage assassins, Mahiro and Chisato, being told by their employer that they have to blend into regular society, which means becoming roommates and trying to get regular jobs. Plenty of comedy is drawn from the two simply trying to get along while living together. But they're once more drawn into a violent world after crossing paths with a Yakuza boss. That's when the action really kicks into high gear. The action scenes may be few and far between compared to some of the other entries on this list, but when they do happen, they make a huge impact. Reviewers largely adored the film, with The Skinny stating, "The lead pair are so charming that the film would work as an Office Space-esque slacker comedy even if all they did was hang out in their apartment together." Anytime they do get off the couch though, it accelerates into an absolutely exhilarating action flick. Tony Jaa is a household name today, but that's arguably because of his breakout role in what many people view as one of the best action movies of the 21st century, Ong-Bak, the Thai warrior, a practitioner of Muay Thai, a fighting style known for its aggressive punches and kicks, as well as elbow and knee strikes. After a precious Buddha statue is stolen from his remote northern village, Ting vows to get it back. His journey leads him to Bangkok, where he dives headfirst into the underworld. He gets into plenty of memorable fights as he hunts the thieves, and if you thought Mortal Kombat was gory, just wait.
Lay your back, come on, lay your back.
To say that Ong-Bak, the Thai warrior, made waves around the world would be an understatement. Critics quickly dubbed Jaa the new Jackie Chan and/or Jet Li while praising the film's gritty action scenes. The Hollywood Reporter called it an effective martial arts film destined to leave mouths agape. And the New York Times review said, "Fans of action movies will find much to appreciate in this symphony of flying limbs, breaking bones, and elaborately staged chases and confrontations." Dev Patel directed and produced Monkey Man, in which he plays Kid, an underground fighter trying to get revenge on the man who murdered his mother when he was a child.
You like John Wick? Because this just came in.
Kid fighting his way through India's rich and powerful is entertaining enough. There's a real emphasis on examining how those in power persecute those without it, something Kid experienced firsthand when he was younger.
This is not the place to work if you can't handle that sort of stuff.
Fortunately, he has the opportunity to help those in the present by protecting people in a Hijra, or transgender community. Monkey Man is a movie with more on its mind than simply having characters throwing punches, but it still delivers the action. According to the Chicago Sun-Times, a monumentally entertaining and bare-knuckled revenge flick, and The Atlantic called it a stylish thriller that's also a cathartic unleashing of Patel as a performer and storyteller. It's impressive that Patel does most of his own stunts, but it came at a cost. In the middle of filming, he felt his hand break.
I told my producer, I was like, don't say anything, let's just keep filming. By the end of it, the day, my hand was like an elephant's foot.
Maggie Q was always impressed, and she does it again with her lead role in 2021's The Protégé. She plays Anna Dutton, who's been a contract killer ever since she was a child, after being recruited by Moody, played by Samuel L. Jackson.
This is R&D Plumbing. Your leak has been fixed. Please remit the balance of your payment forthwith.
When tragedy strikes, Anna wants vengeance, which puts her on a collision course with the shady Michael Rembrandt. The Protégé only grossed a little over $8 million worldwide, perhaps because it came out in the fall of 2021, just after the COVID-19 shutdowns were lifted. Those who did see the movie largely enjoyed it. The film has a 63% rating from critics on Rotten Tomatoes and an 82% score from audiences. Among the major outlets to review the picture positively was the Washington Post, which wrote, "The film is polished and watchable, with a satisfying third-act twist that nicely upends much of what has come before it. If you're craving a pulpy action film with an assassination plot, give The Protégé a shot." Anyone who wants to see stuntmen get their due in front of the camera would do well to check out 1980's The Stunt Man on Peacock. This dark action film finds Vietnam veteran Cameron on the run for attempted murder when he's recruited to be a stuntman in a war movie directed by Eli Cross, played by Peter O'Toole. But Eli will do anything to make his film as realistic as possible, and Cameron begins to have difficulty discerning what's real and what's fake.
Hey, I just listen. There are a few actors only in the entire world have mastered that art.
The Stunt Man was critically acclaimed when it came out, earning 3 Academy Award nominations, including Best Actor for O'Toole and Best Director for Richard Rush. The Associated Press review of the film called it a brilliant feat of cinematic legerdemain, creating an illusory world in which nothing is what it seems.
What would you do if you were in that airplane and about to die?
I'd probably dance for joy. I might even do a jig.
While there are plenty of action elements in The Stuntman, it has something for everyone, blending together the best qualities of drama, satires, and thrillers. And it hits just as hard all these years later, so now's a great time to check it out on Peacock. 1976's Assault on Precinct 13 is one of John Carpenter's earliest films and remains a standout in his filmography. The siege thriller sees Lieutenant Ethan Bishop overseeing an unused LAPD station with minimal staff and some prisoners at the location. The precinct is overrun by a gang seeking revenge after cops killed some of their members, leading to a violent standoff. Carpenter is well known for his contributions to both horror and action, and some of his films are outright classics, including Halloween, The Thing, and They Live. Anyone who considers himself a fan of Carpenter absolutely has to give Assault on Precinct 13 a shot, if only because it sees him really honing in on what would later become hallmarks in his later work. For example, Assault on Precinct 13 focuses on crumbling infrastructure and the breakdown of societal norms, which would be explored on a much larger scale in 1981's Escape from New York.
Look at that. 2 cops wishing me luck. I'm doomed.
Assault on Precinct 13 may be nearly 50 years old, but it's still plenty shocking. In fact, the themes that Carpenter explores here are as relevant as they were back in the 1970s. In a glowing review of the film, Slant magazine said, "There's no mistaking the modern racial and sexual politics encoded in the distinctly Western elements of Carpenter's lean, mean, genre-defying masterpiece." It takes some serious skill to upstage John Wick in his own movie, but one could argue that's precisely what Donnie Yen did as Kane in John Wick Chapter 4. In fact, Lionsgate has announced a Kane spin-off movie set in that universe, such was his impact. While fans wait to see that film come to fruition, they can tide themselves over with 2021's Raging Fire, a Hong Kong action thriller that shows how no one else is quite doing it like Yen right now. Yen stars as Chung Sung-bong, a hard-boiled cop tasked with bringing down former protege Yao Kong-no, who's turned to a life of crime. What follows is an intriguing game of cat and mouse as Cheng runs the gamut of local criminals to find Yao. The two may be separated throughout much of the runtime, but the tension and Yen's amazing fight moves keep viewers heavily invested. In an exclusive interview with Looper, Yen shared how he kept the action exciting throughout the fight sequences, particularly one where he battles a bunch of bad guys simultaneously, saying, "For that scene, taking on a dozen thugs, you got to find ways, like with a prop here, with a mace here, and falling down and chasing my fellow actor, Ben Lim, going down the sewage, constantly giving me obstacles. I'm constantly getting beat up." After serving as the action director on Baby Assassins, Kensuke Senamura stepped into the director's chair for Bad City. It's a surprisingly complex cops vs. criminals movie where Makoto Terada, a police captain jailed for murder, gets secretly released to lead a task force to bring down a corrupt businessman called Gojo Wataru, who's seeking to expand his powers by running for mayor. Bad City isn't a movie to watch for subtle dialogue, it's all about the action. As The Guardian noted in its review, all the nuance is in the grace of the fight scenes, as lovingly choreographed as a production of Swan Lake. A big part of why the action sequences hit as hard as they do comes down to Japanese cinema legend Hitoshi Ozawa's performance as Torada, who did many of his own stunts. Despite being around 60 years old at the time of filming, Ozawa has been in the industry a long time, and he reflected to Nippon about how action movies have changed over the decades, saying, "In the old days, a choreographer would set up the fight scenes and the director or the cameraman handled the camera blocking. These days, an action film director handles everything." Bad City was a passion project for Ozawa, who also produced the film and wrote the screenplay. Hopefully, he's not done with the genre just yet. When most people think of a Thomas Jane action movie, their first thoughts probably turn to 2004's The Punisher. However, a year before that film came out, Jane appeared in the titular role in an action-packed biopic called Stander. Andre Stander was a rising force in a South African police department who had a crisis of faith after shooting a protester who was fighting against apartheid.
I need you to help me this time. I need you to tell me I won't get sucked back into the muck.
Stander then went on a bank robbery spree, coming into conflict with those he worked with and even investigating his own crime scene. It feels like a larger-than-life story, but truth can often be stranger than fiction. Director Bronwyn Hughes spoke with SF Gate about chatting with a member of Stander's gang to get the details just right, saying, "He told me that they always intended to be invisible. Go in, go out. Sometimes even the bank's guards would be holding the door for them as if to say, 'Thank you very much, gentlemen. Have a nice day.'" Stander is far more grounded than most modern action movies, and that, along with the fact that it actually happened, is what made the film appeal to critics at the time. The New York Times wrote, "This true story is an unsettling character study of a man self-destructively addicted to flouting authority."
He's one man with a damn government.
And the Los Angeles Times called the film an exciting, hard-driving, fast-moving gangster picture and a sharp commentary on apartheid.